Hello Sleuth, my name is Ave. This is the video channel for Care Bear Comics, and today you're going to see me draw and talk about my comic Almighty Protectors. Well, I'm not going to draw the comic, I'm going to draw the characters, talk about the characters, talk about the comic for a bit. It's going to be all the characters, then all of them together. And so let's get started. I'm sorry for the angle, but this is the best I can do for now. I have basically no money. Anyways, we're starting with Flamethrower. If one were to call any of the characters in the comic the main character of Almighty Protectors, it would be her. Flamethrower's real name is Mariana Dragonmaster. Pronouns she, her. She has the power of pyrokinesis as well as flight. While not too fond of the idea of being a superhero, she nonetheless will step in to protect those in danger, and she absolutely loves her ability to fly. Mari is a lesbian trans woman in a relationship with teammate Multiblades, who you'll see later. She's also the adopted sister of teammate Rearranger, who you'll also see later. While she was born and raised in the same universe as most of her teammates, her parents are actually from a fantasy world. Her mother was a local human, and her father is a half-dragon. The mother was a half-dragon's prisoner and was able to escape to another world, dying during childbirth. The father, meanwhile, was able to actually become a part of the team for a bit, masquerading as a hero until he was found out. Mari is still rather shaken up about this, but in her travels she gained a weapon and hand-to-hand fighting abilities. The sword was a gift intended for decorational purposes, which she uses as a practical weapon nonetheless. An ally on one world also gave her the skill of Taekwondo. While her knowledge in this style was gained artificially through technology, she practices it now and tries to keep it fresh in her mind. She's also trilingual in English, Yiddish, and Wintu, and has interest in literature and language. So this is the finished inks. As you can see, I've cleaned them up a bit and added a little I forgot to ink in. And this is a fully colored image. Next up, it's Mineral, whose real name is Mikel Hernandez, pronouns of he, him. I'm sorry there's no footage of me drawing him. The camera decided not to record it, so admire me showing off with epic hand gestures. I'll stick with that. But anyways, Mineral is a Mexican-American bisexual trans man and is one in a set of identical twins. He has a power to cover himself in a jagged, rock-like coating. Said coating is highly durable and can absorb a lot of impact, and he can move just as easily in it as he does without it. Recently, he has also found that so long as he's making contact with something, he can cover that in the coating too. This allows him to turn projectiles into more effective weapons, for instance, but also he can cover others in it, giving them an armor, but also immobilizing them. It's also been shown that he can creep the covering along the ground to cover someone who he isn't touching, but is touching the ground. His personality is jovial, with a love of quips and puns. Mineral is in a relationship with teammate Rearranger, and his twin sister is Multiblades, and as I mentioned before, you'll see both of them later. It was revealed early on in the comic that he's performed in shot put on his college track team, and he knows how to wrestle, even though he never actually competed in it due to transphobic policies. Mikel is bilingual in English and Spanish, and is interested in geology. His silver hair is despite his youth, and currently a mystery to him and the team as to why it looks like that. And here are the finished inks. His pose is intended to be that of a wrestler. And here is a fully colored image. Now it's on to Rearranger, real name Carl Nopanorta. I didn't pronounce that right, but I tried my best right there. It's a Wintu name. Anyways, his pronouns are he, him. The problem with the Mineral image persisted here, but I caught it before I finished everything, so you get to see some of the amount of the drawing process at least. But as it is, Rearranger is half Wintu, half Jewish, and a gay cis man. He has the power to manipulate subatomic particles. While potentially being the most powerful member of the team, he also has bipolar disorder, and his meds do dampen his concentration in that regard. As such, he's found some limited, simple uses of his power, which are primarily flight, warping the space around his fist for a more impactful punch, and dissolving projectiles. He has an analytical outlook to situations and is not the best in social situations due to being unable to look people in the eye, but isn't above some lightheartedness, and is able to function perfectly fine in the group dynamic of the team, at least. Carl is in a relationship with Mineral, who you just heard about, and his adopted sister is Flamethrower, who you already heard about. He's trilingual, speaking English, Yiddish, and Wintu, and was once a graduate student in chemistry, though he never finished. Like Mineral, he also has noteworthy hair, with it being two-toned, and his eyebrows are different colors, and like Mineral, he doesn't know the origin of the coloring. However, the distinction and lack of natural examples do make his more questionable as to its origin. Now, here are the finished inks, the most potentially powerful team member. And here's a fully colored image. And here is Multiblade's real name, Miguela Hernandez. Pronouns are she, her. She's a Mexican-American pansexual cis woman who is an identical twin. Her power is the ability to create jagged, rock-like shards from the air. These shards are the same sort of substance that Mineral creates, but he can't make the shards, and she can't cover herself in it. Normally, she uses this power to make sword-like blades, or the equivalent of throwing daggers. Personality-wise, she likes to quip and pun, but not to the extent of Mineral. Instead, she's begun to recognize her ability to empathize more with people, and has openly posited that she wants to look into getting more educated in mental health in order to help her fellow heroes with what they may be going through, but don't feel comfortable going to official sources for due to secret identities. She's also been shown to be able to talk down a villain, not through strategy, but actual empathy. Miguela is in a relationship with Flamethrower, who you've already seen, and her twin brother is Mineral, who you've already seen. She's bilingual in English and Spanish, and has been shown to throw discus for the college track team. And here are the finished inks. This is a fully colored page. Now we're on to BAD, real name Bridget Anna Dell, also known as Bridge. Pronouns are she, her. She's an African-American butch lesbian cis woman. Her power is telekinesis. While she dresses like a ninja, she has no acquired hand-to-hand skills, but instead happened to be on her way to a costume party when she found out about her power, and happened to stop a bank robbery directly after that discovery. In fact, her superhero name was due to her initials being stuck on the costume, due to her having earlier that day purchased said costume and not fully taking off the tag. At first her sword was fake, but she later got a real katana, which she does use in combat, though she still could stand to learn some technique for it. As far as her personality, she's a big superhero fan, and one that pushed the others into taking up superhero identities. She doesn't have the best self-image due to being overweight, but she doesn't tend to let it show. Bridge is the only human on the team who isn't either related to or dating another human, but she was a friend to the other 4 before they got powers. As well, she was the only one of the 5 humans who was not shown at the start of the comic to have been going to college, but instead was working for a local used bookstore, which is subsequently closed. She's in a relationship with Ariana, who you'll see later. And the finished inks are here. I'm not too happy with the bits she's floating around her left hand, though. But anyways, here's a fully colored page. This next team member is Ariana Iresh, shortened to Ariana as her superhero name, or Ari to her friends, and her pronouns are she, her. She's a cis-lesbian fairy, though human-sized, and has the power of telepathy and very limited skill in magic. Due to her upbringing as a fairy, she's haughty and self-assured, wanting to help but not understanding that sometimes you need to be pleasant. She comes from a fantasy world where, among her people, she was branded as a troublemaker. Despite the land she hailed from being similar to medieval England, Ariana appears East Asian. She hasn't mentioned why. When she first joined the team, it was to help take down a half-dragon that had been menacing her people and the humans who lived near them. However, she found herself thwarted for a time when the lies of said half-dragon were just as believable to the rest of the team as what she was telling them, and she had suspicion laid on her as a possible culprit for the crimes that he was accused of. When the villain's true nature was revealed, she was vindicated in a sense, but yet still has friction with Flamethrower, who, in a way, unduly blames Ariana for her father's murderous ways. But despite that friction, Ariana has little issues with the rest of the team. She's in a relationship with BAD and feels that she doesn't have any need to go home, the team being more of a family to her than what would wait for her there. Ariana is at least bilingual in English and her fairy language, and though she could know more languages that she just doesn't talk about. And these are the finished inks. You'll notice I changed the wings during the process to make them look more realistic, and also because that's the way I tend to draw them more in the comic nowadays. And this is the fully colored image. The final member of the team here is Pinball, pronouns she here. A being that looks a bit like a man in a suit. Pinball is actually not human at all and is also not wearing anything. She is asexual, aromantic, and agender, and this isn't because of her sexless anatomy, but actually because that's the way Pinball truly identifies. Pinball has the ability to create portals to other worlds, a power which sometimes activates at random. She has no memory of her past and is often full of wonder about the world around, as if experiencing it for the first time. An aspect of Pinball that freaks out her teammates is her medium awareness, knowing she's in a comic and often pointing out events from other panels on a page or reading text supposedly only meant for the reader. But, as Pinball puts it, this is normal for her. She has no memory of perceptions other than this. Said ability isn't used for comedy, nor can she physically interact with the comic elements she sees. Pinball doesn't know about her past, which is complicated by not only being unaffected by things that don't make sense to not affect her, such as reality warping effects, telepathy, and the like, but she also seems to have no counterparts in all of the universes. She sees the rest of the team as her family, though, regardless of who in the future may be revealed as related to her. These are the finished inks. I added one of her portals because I realized that should be there. And here's a fully colored image. And now, as a bonus, I'm drawing all the team together, or more accurately, all separately, but intended to be combined together later. The comic may be called Almighty Protectors, but that's just like the Uncanny and Uncanny X-Men. The Almighty is just an adjective, really only used to distinguish the team from all the other superhero teams called the Protectors. They're just called the Protectors. The team regularly travels to different universes because of Pinball, and as I mentioned before, the power goes off at random, which means they will often have adventures in places they didn't intend to go at first. Wherever they go, the constant seems to be that they needed to be there. In 44 issues of their comic, they've traveled to many different places, seen worlds both like and unlike their own. Sometimes they succeed in their endeavors, sometimes they don't, and they're still in a learning process, probably always will be. I don't have an end goal for the story, somewhere that will be a definitive end. Maybe one day I will, but I prefer the idea of them just continuing ad infinitum. Possibly with others taking up the creative role if I ever want to step down, if I have money for that ever. It would be similar to like Marvel and DC. The stories keep going with no true end goal, and every new creative team can add more. But I'd also like the idea of creating video games, films, and the like with the characters, even though those are probably pipe dreams. Surely my art will hopefully continue to improve, and I might get decent at drawing one day. It's entirely possible. You can see that my art isn't professional quality at the moment. here are the inks. I had to resize some of the images, which tells me I should have drawn them all together. If you notice, Flamethrower has a thicker outline than the rest. Maybe I'll draw them all together on another go-around. This is a fully colored image. And so that was Almighty Protectors. Next time on this channel, I'm not sure what the video will be, but the next time I talk about characters, I'm going to talk about my team, Defenders of America. It's another comic that I hope to have running regularly with a different artist than myself. But if you like this video, you can give it a like on down there. Subscribe to me if you wanna. Share the video, comment, all that sort of stuff if you want to. But if you don't want to, understandable. No matter what, though, have a great day.